Hey HCDA, and welcome to a quick update on Dyson Sphere Program. There was another patch released today and it includes quite a few interesting things, a couple of quality of life changes as well, and here is a quick summary of the most important things. First of all, and it's right behind me if I quickly turn around, assuming I can find it, there it is. You can now provide colors to your Dyson Sphere. You can very easily just color the sphere that is already there. And as you can see, you can make some pretty amazing types of things with that. Completely up to you. You can make your country balls or whatever. You can actually color your Pac-Man yellow now if you want. Whatever you're trying to do, you can. It's actually quite an intuitive design as well. So if you go to your overview, in your editor, you can now simply select the shell you want to provide colors with. I already did the top one, but the bottom one is not colored just yet. You can say, hey, let's decorate that. You can select what you want to color. So that's convenient if, for example, you want to color the edges as well. For this demonstration, I'm just going to keep it simple. Let's say you want green or whatever, and you can just click and paste, and then you can make all the colors you want. You can easily swap between colors as well. It's pretty much as easy as you can have it. It's quite convenient. As you can see, it only takes like a minute to color in your little sphere. If you have a not so little sphere, of course, it might take you a little bit more time, but you can get really creative. So I'm looking very much forward to seeing what everyone will do with that. But that's not the only thing. Now, the next amazing thing in this new patch has to do with science. So as long as you're producing science in the game from now on, you will be producing something that is called metadata. This metadata you can find under your technology tree. If you click up here, you can see how much metadata you have generated in this playthrough so far. This is applied at any save game that you might currently have active. So if you have some in-game build where you're actually producing quite a nice amount of science, just start it up and it will start generating it instantly. As you can see, this is one of my playthroughs. This is one of my in-game playthroughs that I'm currently working on this channel, and you can see I'm already producing some of all of this, and I'm not even producing science in any high amounts, and I've only had the game running for a small amount of time since the patch. So if I would be starting a new game right now, I could bring this 80 blue science, for example, right into that game and unlock a few of the technologies, so I don't have to start everything from scratch, but I could actually jump to some of the later game stuff. Now, of course, 80 science is not going to get you far into the game, but once again, this is just me playing a few minutes in this particular playthrough. If you would actually have an endgame playthrough, this is going to add up really, really fast. And even if you just do a normal playthrough from scratch right now, by the time you reach even the mid game, you will have already generated so much blue science, for example, that you will have a nice starting amount for any playthrough that you do after that. So even if you have no interest in continuing any playthrough that you currently have, I highly recommend just start up one of your old save games, have it run for an hour before you start over if you want a quick start to your next session. Now, there are a few more things related to technology, so actually knowing how to use the metadata is probably something worth mentioning. So if you go to any technology now, I'll just use this one as an example, you have a new button next to the Activate Research, and this is the buyout technology. So this will actually have you use your metadata to unlock a technology directly. It's basically spending your metadata. You can also, of course, still research stuff manually, and if you do so now, you actually get an overview of what that technology is supposed to do. So before you could only see what you were researching, now you can actually see what it does. Not a big change, but a nice convenient one in case you're wondering, what is this specific thing doing for me? Well, now you know. Now, there's a few more nice quality of life changes in this patch as well. So first of all, whenever you hover over a building now, you have a little pop-up that will tell you how the power is on that building, what the inventory of that building is. In the case of, for example, a mining machine, it also tells you how much resources this still has access to. So pretty much the same information you could also get by clicking on the building, but there's now also a nice little pop-up, and especially for the power, that can be quite convenient. Now, another really nice quality of life thing, especially for the early game, is that you can now easily pick up items without actually having to go through the menu. You can just put your mouse over the item or over the building, hold control, click it, and all the items that are currently stored in that, in my case, mining machine, are now in my inventory. So I can just click, 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 and get everything that's in there without having to click the building one by one manually. Really convenient, and especially for the early game when you're running around getting your copper and your iron and stuff like that. Really nice and handy. And to be honest, it has some uses in the later game as well. Now, the last thing I want to mention has everything to do with blueprints, and there's actually a few things with blueprints that have now been added. So first of all, when you have larger builds, by default, you get your mouse cursor stuck to one of the corners, which can be really inconvenient if you are trying to kind of fiddle around with it and carefully place it at some position. You have to line it up with another build. Generally speaking, it's just really annoying. Now you can press tab and you can switch the anchor position, and that will make it a lot easier to actually place it. So you are still going to be stuck to a corner, and I'm not entirely sure if this is coming across, but if I press tab now, as you can see, the orientation of the blueprint is not changing, but the place where my cursor is changing. So it's one of the corners, and that should hopefully allow you to align your blueprint with whatever side that you need to line it up with. Now, another really nice new feature is that you can actually force the blueprint down. So sometimes you have a blueprint where there's just a tiny little mistake. A belt is kind of caught up somewhere. It's not allowing you to build it. If you now press shift click, you can force your blueprint down regardless of whether or not there's some errors in the build. It will only place down the buildings that are actually able to be built. So basically any building that gives you an error will not be in the blueprint build, but that at least allows you to fix that problem afterwards without having to potentially have to redo your entire blueprint all over again. The last thing, and I'm not sure how visible it is, so I'll zoom in here a bit, is that the memos are now actually shown in the blueprint when you're placing them. So if you, for example, use a blueprint from someone else, let's say a certain YouTuber, but you're not entirely sure what part is supposed to go where, the memos are usually a very good way to see that. But before, you were not able to actually see the memos on the blueprint while you were placing it. So you would kind of have to guess which belt would align with what other belt. Now you no longer have to guess, assuming, of course, that there are memos in the blueprint. You can now see them while you're placing them, making that very convenient. That is all there is for now. There's a lot more tiny little things in the patch, but nothing really worth mentioning, I think, at this point. But the key things are in this short summary. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, there's a lot of Dyson Sphere content as well as other content for other games on here. So please make sure that you do. And I hope to catch you in a next episode.